Hello, this is Richard with RichMade Knives, and I'm going to do a video showing grinding of folder number 2 and talk a little bit about the process that I use for grinding and so forth. So hope you enjoy this video, a little bit of instructional video, and also talk a little bit about my process. So first off, I wanted to show you all my grinding jig. So this is a piece of angle steel here, and what I did is I drilled a hole in the middle here for the pivot, and then on either side here I drilled a hole and I mounted a screw and then a nut on the other side, which I then sanded down so that it's actually a little bit lower than the height of the blade so that it doesn't get hit when I'm doing the grinding. So that's the jig, and you know, you just take the blade off, reverse it, put it on the other side, and then it allows you to hold it evenly on my work table here, my work surface on my grinder as I grind back and forth. So that's the jig. The next thing is that I have this table here that I got with my grinder. That is a fully adjustable table. So I'll show you what I mean. So I just loosen this up here, and you can see I can fully pivot the table left, right, backwards, and forwards. So what I do is I set this table to where the table is level left to right, and then I just set the angle to the angle that I want to grind the blade at. This particular blade I'm going to grind at 7 degrees. So I have this digital angle gauge right here. And so I just set this gauge on the table here, and then I adjust the table to 7 degrees, and then I use this little magnetic level here across the front to make sure that the table is level left to right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and angle this table at 7 degrees, get it level, and then point it down towards the belt at 7 degrees so that I can grind this blank. And once I get the table set, then we'll be back. Okay, we got the table set to 7 degrees. One of the other things I forgot to mention is I scribe a center line on my blade right down the middle so that as I'm grinding on the one side I can see how close I'm getting to the center line. And my goal prior to heat treat is to leave the blade about the thickness of a dime. So we're going to grind this side down. The plan is to go about halfway up the notch, the sharpening notch that I cut here. So we'll put the edge of the grind right about there, and we'll do this one side. I'll leave the video running. It's going to be loud because it's a grinder. So here we go. I'm gonna gear up with my my mask here and everything, so I won't be able to talk to you guys. Okay, we're getting close to the center line, so I've been using an 80 grit belt. I'm going to switch to a 120, and then we'll stop at 120, and that'll be the grit that I'll use. I'll leave on the blade for heat treat. Okay, so we got half the blade grinded down to about the thickness I'm looking for away from the center line. So now what I need to do is reverse the blade over to this side and grind the other side down to the same depth. What you see me doing off camera there is, I'll spin you around here. I got a bucket here. This is filled with half of what do you call it? Super Simple Green. This is filled with half Simple Green and half water. It's a trick that I heard about, and if you use Simple Green and you're using a high carbon steel like this, it doesn't let the steel doesn't rust. If you use plain water, as you're doing what I'm doing, dipping and grinding, you end up with a very slight, in some cases, rust discoloration on the blade that you end up having to clean up later, which is a pain. So if you use a little bit of Simple Green in your solution over here, that doesn't happen. There's no surface layer rust forms whatsoever. So that's great. So I'm going to pause you guys. I'm going to flip this blade over and do the other side, and we'll be back. Okay, we're back. We got the blade flipped over to the other side of the jig here. So you can see this is the inside now, is the part we just sanded. So now we're going to grind down this back side. So I'm going to gear up, get this thing going. I'm back to the 80 grit belt here. So I'm going to gear up and start grinding this other side. Okay, time to change to belts. Okay, so that's about as far as I'll go for heat treat. You can kind of see the thickness there. So next would be to heat treat the blade, and then we bring it back to the grinder, and we shave that down to, I would say, probably about half that thickness, which won't take very long. And then we'll do a little bit of surface grinding on these flats here, just to bring out a nicer finish. And that's it. Then we do a sharp edge on it, of course. But this is the point at which I bring it to, about there, for heat treat. So heat treating on this blade is next. So hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry if it takes a while and all you've been kind of doing is watching me grind, but thought that you might be interested in seeing that process. So Richard with RichMade Knives, grinding folder number 2. Thanks.